Welcome, everybody, to today's Career Lounge Live. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to drop your questions in the chat box if you have questions, and invite a friend if you want to have them included in this live today. So today we are talking about the topic of what's your passion. Career Lounge, just a little bit of background, is a space that helps you become a greater you. This lounge is designed to help middle and high school students prepare for life after high school. Failing to plan is planning to fail, and we do not want any of you to fail at this, right? So if you're already a member of our Facebook group, please feel free to tag your friends, bring them in. If you're in the chat box, please leave a greeting for us. Let us know what your name is and where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions about the topic of what's your passion. We also want to give special thanks to the Career Lounge Live sponsor, EXL, a leading data analytics and digital operations and solutions company. You can learn more about EXL at www.exlservice.com. Thanks to their sponsorship, we are able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. Yay! So today we're going to get into our topic about what's your passion. But just before we get there, let me introduce myself. I am Elizabeth, a volunteer with L.O.V.E Our Youth, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing programs for youth throughout Central Florida. Our mission is to encourage youth to embrace their self-worth and value life's lessons in order to maximize their potential. Today, we understand that decisions can be made by applying a process, and that learning this process is critical to making important decisions in life, including those about career choices. Today, we're going to discuss characteristics related to a job, steps in getting a job and what documents are needed, as well as tips for successful interviews. Before we kick off today's topic, let's learn a little bit more about each other. So if you can drop your information in the chat. While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Elizabeth People. As I said, I'm a volunteer with L.O.V.E Our Youth. And I chose a career path that is quite interesting. I started out in the legal field, and from the legal field, I shifted over to the nonprofit space. It's mainly because of my love of working with people, and also my love of volunteering and being able to help people in my community. So that was kind of where my interests were, and it kind of helped guide my career path in that way. So why did I choose my career? As I think back on it, I remember when I was getting ready to graduate college, and the question came about, what do you want to do once college is over? And I always hear people talk about doing what you love, because then you don't work a day in your life. And so I thought about what are some of the things that I really enjoy doing? What are the things that I love that get me up in the morning and get me going? And that kind of helped me get down the career path that I'm at, navigating the space of working in the legal field as well as the nonprofit space. So I'm going to use that as a segue to go ahead and jump into what's your passion, because I know for me, my passion is what led me to the career path that I have now. So when we're thinking about what's your passion, we're going to start with our lesson objectives for today. Our first objective is to explore your passions and interests. What are those things that you really love to do, that you're really interested in, that take up a lot of your time without even thinking about it? Number two, we're going to understand how your interests affect your career choice. So remember, I said my interests led me to my career choice, and it's very important that we understand how that works. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're also going to talk about how to learn about your interests preferences. Sounds fun, right? So let's dive right in. So starting with what's your passion? Have you discovered what you're passionate about and how that might affect your choice of career? I know you may be thinking, well, I'm still young. I still have a lot of time ahead of me, and I really don't know what I want to do. That's okay. That's what we're here for, to help you kind of understand what some of your interests are and things that you like to do and how those things really help on your career path. Something to think about is when you enjoy your job, you're more likely to be good at it, right? So when I went into my first job, I really enjoyed it. And so that helped me really excel at the tasks that they were giving me within my position. So let's start with talking about some of your interests, right? Because that's kind of where it all starts. What are you interested in, right? So your interests are things that you like to do, the ideas you want to know more about, and anything that inspires you. Anything that inspires you. These are a culmination of what your interests are. So your interests can be activities like exploring ideas, right? So you may just have a curious mind and you really just want to see how things work. So you're always exploring different ideas, different methods, different excuse me, different spaces that people may be in to see how it works, right? Maybe to understand it a little bit better and see if it actually is something that you're interested in. There's also the idea of fixing things. There are people who love to tinker, hammers, nails. Even if you want to talk about fixing things, we can even take it into a space of technology. There's a multitude of software programs, coding and things of that nature that help fix certain problems that people have in companies, right? So you could be that person that wants to fix the software that's keeping a company from getting to their next level, right? You can be that person. You can also be the person that likes to help others. I know for me, that's where my core interest was. I wanted to explore spaces in which I could help people grow. I could help people be their best, where they can be excellent, they can feel good about themselves. That's a space that I really wanted to be in, and I explored that space. There's also the space of working with numbers. And so that's not me, but there are a lot of career paths that include working with numbers. And although I say that's not me, just to be clear, there are almost any job that you go into, you have to know some level of numbers. And so it is important to have at least an understanding of different numbers and how they work and how they pertain to what your interests are. And then there's creating art. Do we have any art people in this room, right? People who maybe you like to draw, maybe you like to write, maybe you like to sing or dance. All of that falls under the art median. And all of that space is something you definitely can explore, right? You can take classes, you can go work with nonprofit organizations that are in that space. You can job shadow in those spaces. So there's really a lot of opportunities in that art space that you can be in, as well as convincing people about your ideas, right? So you may be an innovator, someone who's always thinking about new things that maybe the rest of us we haven't quite gotten there yet, right? And so it does take a little persuasion, a little convincing to get us to see what your idea is, but that may be your thing. And that's a great thing. So we want to talk about, what do your interests have to do with your career, right? So what do they have to do with it? I'm interested in writing. What does that have to do with a career? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So your career interests are important because they reflect your preferences in a work environment, right? So what is that thing that, like I said before, I like helping people. That definitely was a part of influencing where I decided to look for opportunities for employment. Right. So if I'm in a space where I like to help people, I'm not looking for a job that's not people related, because then I don't get that interaction. I'm not able to sit and talk with people. I'm not able to reach my goal of helping somebody grow and be better at, a better them. Right. So I'm going to look for opportunities that fit what that interest is. So we're going to talk about a couple of points to think about when you're looking at, how does what I'm interested in really impact my career choice? And so the first one is job satisfaction. People who enjoy their jobs are more likely to be optimistic, motivated, they learn faster, and less likely to leave their profession. And I will have to say that that is true. You will see that there will be people on jobs, especially jobs where they really enjoy it, that will have 25, 35 years working in that space because they thoroughly enjoy it, you know? And so job satisfaction is major when it comes to choosing a career path. What is a job that you feel you would be satisfied in working in? That satisfaction would be motivating to you, would help you learn more, would increase your curiosity to learn, I should say. And then also, we don't want to have, if you like it, you probably won't leave very often, or very soon, I should say. We also look at strategic career decisions, right? And so strategic, that's planning. How are you planning out your career decision? And you may say, well, we're too young to plan it out, but I'll tell you, you're not. You can start now with planning out a career decision. I know for me, when I had to be probably about 14 years old, I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I didn't know what type of attorney. I didn't know what I was going to study. I didn't know what type of law I was going to practice, but I knew I wanted to be an attorney. And because I knew that, when I went to high school, I designed my schedule behind that. I talked to my guidance counselor about spaces where I could be in classes that would teach me about law. I looked for internships that would teach me about law. I made sure that I was in those spaces to learn as much as I could about law because I knew I wanted to be an attorney. Fast forward, I'm not an attorney, but we'll get to that. So having that strategic career decision, and what I was telling you really starts with aligning your career with your interests, right? So again, remember, I liked helping people. Law was one of those spaces where that's what lawyers do. They help people. And I just knew that that was something that I wanted to do. So aligning your career with your interests also means you won't feel like you wasted your time. There was zero time wasted in what I did. I loved every minute of it, and I learned so much and so many things that I still use today, even though I'm not in that field anymore. But you won't feel like you wasted your time, and you won't feel like you followed the wrong career path. Okay, that's very important because you don't want to feel like you took the wrong direction. So take your time, plan out, really think about what those interests are and look for those spaces that align with those interests that you have. Number 4, we're going to talk about motivation. I'm sorry, career success. Number 3, career success increases your chances of achieving success in your career by staying motivated and increasing your productivity. So when you get into your career, you will find that motivation, is going to be key to like self-motivation, especially, is going to be key to your success in that career. Can you get yourself up and out of bed in the morning? Are you able to get to the office and, work through a project, think outside the box, be creative, find innovative ways to do new things within your position? That's going to lead to that career success for you. So you definitely want to understand how that increases your chances of achieving that success. And that takes us into motivation. So motivation is where you put more effort into developing your skills and find more motivation to achieve your career goals. So effort is one of those keywords that we're going to talk about here. When you put forth the effort into something, you will have something achieved. Like you will get to a result. Motivation can be a little hard. And so like some ways to stay motivated would be like thinking about why you started doing this in the first place, right? And so like for me, when I would be at my job and there would be days where I didn't feel like it, I'm like, I just don't feel like it. Number one, understand that that's just one day. That's just one day. That's one day possibly in your whole career, or one day that week, right? So it's not something that you want to harp on and spend a lot of time in, but understand that that's just one day. We have good days, we have bad days, right? But when you really enjoy what you're doing and you aligned it with your interests, you will come back to it. Like you'll find something that sparks your interest again. Another way to motivate yourself is affirmations. A lot of times we lose motivation because we start to doubt ourselves. So what are some affirmations that can keep you motivated? You know, I am great. I can do this. They may sound funny, you know. You may say, well, that sounds childish, but I promise you, if you get up and you look in the mirror and you say, I can do this, your only competition is yourself. Okay? Nobody's going to motivate you better than you will yourself, because you know what you're capable of. And so using those affirmations or including affirmations into your day-to-day will really help you stay on pace with motivating yourself. So when you start to feel down, what are those things that you can say to yourself to pick yourself back up? Music is a good motivator, right? Sometimes we need to change our mood, right? Sometimes we don't realize that our motivation can decrease based on us possibly not being in the best mood. I find that an upbeat song, something that maybe I can rock to or I can dance a little bit to, will get me in a different mood, which then picks up my motivation again, because now I'm like, I'm in a better mood. I'm thinking a little more positively. And I'm like, you know what? I can do this. Now I start to believe it. And now I can get back on track and really, you know, push through whatever the task is that I have in front of me, that possibly my motivation was low on. So that was a really good question. What are some ways to you stay motivated? So that's just a few ways that you can stay motivated, like in a day-to-day space, that can keep you on track. Number 5, we talk about personal identity, right? So you become more self-aware and may help you determine your values, your strengths, and where your motivation lies, right? So personal identity is really just learning more about yourself in that space. Knowing what you're interested in is one thing, but understanding yourself in that space is something different. What's your discipline level? Like, do you have a routine? Have you created habits around this? Like, what are those things that you do well? Because those are going to start being those things that you identify with. And so for myself, one of the things that I did well in my job was being able to speak in front of crowds. And that led to my boss having me facilitate different workshops, training sessions, and things like that. But I was self-aware. I knew that was a space that I really enjoyed. And so I excelled at it. With some of these same steps that we talked today, I was able to excel in that space. And being self-aware of that, I was able to put myself in certain positions and opportunities to get more opportunities like that. So having that personal self-awareness about what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to do, what you don't want to do, what you can tolerate, what you can't tolerate. Just knowing your boundaries is really helpful with understanding your personal identity and having that self-awareness. So knowing this information can help you act on it more, and can help you act on it more often in your chosen profession, right? So like I said, once I was self-aware of what I was really good at, I really leaned into it, and I made sure that I was looking for opportunities that would continue me down that path. It's great. You guys make sure you drop in your questions so we can pick those up as well. So how to learn about your interests, right? So we talked a lot about interests. I told you about some of my interests and, but now we're going to talk about how to learn about your interests. Like, how do you even know you're interested in something? What are those key things that will help you know that, hey, this is what I'm really interested in? So the first thing you could do is think about your general interests, right? So this has no cap on it. It can be anything. Do you like writing? Do you like sleeping? Do you like running? Do you like, whatever it is that you like, right? So you can start with just simply pulling out a piece of paper and making a list of those general interests that you have, right? So start with number 1 and go all the way down the list. Even if you think it's silly, still write it down, because you never know what can come up something, right? And so once you do that, then I want you to think about your hobbies and your activities. What are those things that you willingly get up and do? Do you play sports? Are you in a band? You know, are you in an art club, a math club? What are those things, those hobbies and activities that you have that you really enjoy doing? I want you to write those down right next to the column where you wrote your general interests, right? So you're going to start to see these things lining up as you write them down. Let's say you had a general interest that said, I like to speak. And then on the list of your hobbies and activities, you might be on a debate team, right? So those kind of go together. And so as you're writing out this list, put them side by side so you can start matching up things that you have in common on both sides of the list. Then you can identify your professional hero and think about your childhood dreams, right? So who's in those spaces that you look up to? If you're on a debate team, is there a debater that, you know, you kind of look up to? Maybe it's your teacher or a classmate that's really good at it, somebody that excels in a space that you enjoy being in. Who is that person? You know, put their information down or write their name. And you may have more than one person, and that's okay. You can put as many people down as you want, because again, we're trying to learn and figure out what those interests are and how we can connect the dots on it, right? So you can also ask family members and friends for feedback. Just, hey, what do I do good? What do I do well? You know, and just listen, listen to their feedback. And again, write that down, right? So now you have your list of your general interests, you have your list of hobbies and activities, you have your list of people that you feel excel in those spaces that you look up to, and you have feedback from your family and friends, right? So now we're creating and constructing this space that's going to kind of show us on paper, like we're going to be able to see it and connect the dots about how to figure out and learn more about our interests. Another way you can learn about your interests is to take assessments, right? So you can take a career cluster assessment that is all about the career space. It may help you understand what space you fall into when it comes to picking a career. And with the other list that we've already written, you might see how that makes sense after you take the survey. There's also a personality survey. I think it's really important to understand your personality. Once you're able to understand your personality, you're able to understand how you operate, how you work. You know, a lot of people say, you know, I work well with others, but do you really? You know, sometimes we're cordial, we're nice to people, but that doesn't mean we work well with people. So being able to understand your personality will definitely help you understand what spaces you can operate in. If your personality is one that cannot be overwhelmed a lot, then you may not want to take a job, say, at an amusement park. You know, you may be you want to be in a space that's a little more calm, a little, you know, less fast paced, right? And so you want to think about those things. And so understanding your personality can really help in that space. Also your career choice survey, right? So again, we're looking at careers again and what choices and opportunities that you have for your personality type or the list that you have created thus far. And again, we're using this list to connect the dots so that you're able to really learn about those interests that you have. And so once you have that document and you're kind of connecting those spaces, I want you to pull out a separate document, right? And all the things that you paired up, I want you to outline them on this next document. And on that second document, I want you to be able to, we're going to use that document as a way to see and kind of narrow down what your interests are, how your interests affect the careers that seem to fit, how any of the assessment tests are giving you information about yourself, like your personality and what spaces are good for you to be in. And we're going to use that to kind of look at what opportunities within a career would be best for you. Okay, so utilizing all that information, the next thing we want you to do is to go off and be great. Okay, absolutely be great, because you are great and you can do this, right? And remember, if you ever feel like you're in a space where you are losing motivation, you think this is not going to work, remember, self-affirmations, get yourself into a good, positive space. What's that thing that gets you out of your slump and into like an upbeat type of pace, right? That can be music, it can be a plethora of things, but figure out what that is and make sure you put it in your routine of being able to self-motivate. So we're going to go ahead and take any questions now. And we do have a question. Are there any books that you can recommend that will help finding your passion? Ooh, that's really good. Books that I could recommend to help find your passion. I'll be honest and say all my books are academic. They don't really, I don't know that they really help you find your passion per se. But I would say if you are, a substitute for books, could definitely be people, and utilizing people to, like we say, get that feedback from your family, your friends, your school teachers, etc., and compiling that information to help you kind of understand maybe where your passion lies. And sometimes it might not be something that you would have expected, because it's just something you do. Right? A lot of times we get into a space where we don't think about things, or we don't think highly about some of the things that we do because we've been doing it for so long. We've been doing it forever. Like, that's not special. I do this all the time. But the reality is the time that you're putting into it, is showing your passion in it. The space that you're allotting for it is showing your passion in it. 9 Things You Simply Must Do by Dr. Henry Cloud. Good one. Good one. Absolutely. And so those spaces can really be helpful. And if you are a reader, that's definitely a book you can definitely pick up. 9 Things You Simply Must Do by Dr. Henry Cloud. Any other suggestions from the audience? I love this. Any other books that we want to look at? All right. Any other questions that we have today? And give you guys a few minutes. Go ahead and type your questions in so we can get those answered for you. Okay. I have a question for you all. I would love for each one on the call today to write one thing in the chat that they think they're interested in. What's that one thing that you find that you enjoy doing? What's the one thing that you can say you enjoy doing? It could be anything. I love riding my bike. I like jumping rope. I like hanging out with my friends. What are some of those things that you like to do? Oh, awesome. I love to sing, and I'm interested in reading and playing and watching sports. Oh, I love the variety there. Yes, singing is absolutely amazing. Like we talked about, that's in the art space. And there's so many different things you can do in the art space, especially with singing. Reading is always fun, is just great. Reading absolutely enhances your knowledge, gives you more information about things. And playing and watching sports, I watch them all. I think it's great. It teaches you a lot. I love sports. Sports teach you teamwork. They teach you sportsmanship. They teach you how to work together, how to solve problems quickly, and how not to get hurt sometimes. Let's see, I love cooking and reading. That's awesome. I'm going to share with you guys one of the things that I love to do. I love to talk. But seriously, I've said it a couple of times throughout today's session about being in a space where I really enjoy helping people. That space has grown for me from just helping people to specifically, and again, as you go through your life and your career, you'll narrow it down somewhat. It's become specifically helping nonprofits. And so I volunteer a lot to be able to help them, meet their goals. I work with them in the background to help them make sure they have everything in order that they need. So what you start out with can definitely grow into another space. And I don't want you guys to be afraid of that. I want you to embrace it. Again, I started out in the legal profession and I found myself in a nonprofit profession. And those two professions are not the same. but they do share a common goal of helping the community. And that's one of the things that I've always loved to do at my core. So just understand that even the things that you love to do now that may sound really simple, such as I like helping people, can really grow into something major and absolutely amazing. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Our next Career Lounge live will be on October 3rd. We ask you to and please invite another youth to come on and be on the call with us as we go through our topic on October 3rd. You can join in or you can tag them and join them into this. We also want to give a special thanks to our Career Lounge Live sponsor, that is EXL. They are a leading data analytics and digital operations solution company, and you can learn more about them at www.exlservice.com. Thanks to their sponsorships, we are able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. And we definitely look forward to seeing you all next time on October 3rd. And so for now, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you soon.